We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles!
Swing of the miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Ooh, welcome in. Episode 167. But listen, we had to go back and kick it a little old school. We got a old friend of the show, old friend from life. Feel like I've seen you before.
Like
today.
once or twice, like today in person.
Today. Chip for the Birds from the AAT Bird Show. His umpire stories are, well, some of them are legendary. Chip, welcome in. I feel like
umpire stories.
Yeah. Listen, I feel like my Facebook memories is like starting to kick in with like a bunch of those original Chips and Dish shows.
Oh yeah,
which were a ton of fun, and they're actually, it's very fun to go back and listen to like what we were talking about, and listen to how this the content has evolved and how, but like to go back and listen to those shows, man, just very cool. But happy to have you on, brother.
They were good shows. I mean, good chance I'm gonna go back and do that a little bit. I mean, JD and I, we haven't potted in a couple of weeks, and I think it's just because of scheduling. So who knows? Maybe I'll go back to some Chips and Dish and start yelling about sports. I mean, there's certainly things happening.
I'll tell you what though, the fantasy the wheelhouse,
I love it.
It's a ton of fun to listen to. Just the randomness of it, the random topics.
So random.
It's good, and without fail, it always gets off the rails. It's
way off the rails. So. Yeah. And it's funny, like, again, we haven't potted in a couple of weeks. I bet people are like, oh, they got canceled. We did not. We did not. We just kind of, life.
Listen, if anybody that does these is getting canceled, it's because they're canceling themselves.
That's true. That's very true.
So the only time that happens is when life gets in the way. So.
Yeah, and it does. That's just,
It does.
Sometimes life do be lifing.
And we're real people with real families and real jobs, and this shit is just fun to do at night. So,
yes, I want you to know I woke up from a couch nap for you.
Oh, okay. Very underrated. Couch nap is very, very, very underrated.
Yeah, the pre-sleep sleep,
Listen, sometimes you got to sleep. Sometimes the sleeping be sleeping. So, and the naps be napping.
The naps do be napping.
And speaking of naps.
The Eagles-Cowboys game, I say.
This
what a
Birds
segue.
team, holy fucking hell. This team, on some other level, you knew they weren't going to go through this gauntlet without losing. You knew that there were going to be games that they were going to lose. Didn't think they were going to get mollywopped twice in back-to-back weeks where you have a lot to play for. You essentially seeded the number one overall seed to the 49ers at this point. because the only way you get that back is if you win out and they somehow, the only game I could see on their schedule that they lose is the game where they have to go play at Baltimore. Dallas has a tough schedule coming up, right? They're going to play they got the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Lions. I just don't like what I see in terms of like not the fact that they lost, but how they lost.
Yeah. And I think that, not to be underrated, I think that if you look at the two conferences, the AFC, I was convinced was the stronger conference because, you've got so many great young quarterbacks there and so many established guys out there. And, there was no one that really could touch this Eagles roster on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And, we started the gauntlet and we beat two of the AFC teams that I was legitimately worried about. The Bills are not what the Bills were. The Chiefs are not the same team.
No,
what bothers me the most about this 2-game losing streak, and that's what it is at this point, is it's to NFC opponents. So you are calling into question the dominance of what the Eagles did in the first weeks of the season. You're calling into question whether or not you are, the legitimate reigning NFC champions, because the whole argument the entire offseason was, well, if Brock Purdy was healthy, we had no chance. Well, we saw a healthy Brock Purdy, and he game managed us and whooped us. Again, Brock Purdy is not a good quarterback. He is a fantastic game manager with elite weapons. And
100%.
And our game plan is not appropriate in the NFL.
Yeah. They have maximized his potential by putting so many weapons around him and making the decisions not super complicated.
Nope.
Take that second, third step, and the ball's out.
The ball is gone. And against a team like the Eagles, who thrive on being able to get to the quarterback. I mean, our entire defense is predicated on, do we get to the quarterback? Because if we don't, our secondary and our linebackers are not capable of stopping elite wide receivers. And we've seen that the last 2 weeks. I mean, Deebo Samuel lit us up. We missed so many tackles against Christian McCaffrey. CeeDee Lamb annihilated us. I mean, it was not a display. And again, there are so many excuses that can be made. We can say, the 3 games in 13 days before we go into Dallas. We can say the injuries. We can say, the adding of Shaquille Leonard so late. We can say all of these things. But the fact of the matter is that against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas with the NFC East on the line, against the 49ers at home with the number 1 seed on the line, the Eagles didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They not only did they not show up, good Lord, they looked uninterested. They never, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that there would be a game that they would play where the offense would not score a touchdown, I would have put $1 million fucking dollars on it.
Because again, on paper, the Eagles offense is just as loaded as the 49ers. Right. We have the best offensive line in football. We've got a quality tight end. Obviously, I'm not a super pro Dallas Goedert guy. I mean, I'm a big Zach Ertz guy. Wide receivers, we have a 1 and a 1A. We've got really good running backs when we decide to hand the ball. And Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback when he is doing things mechanically right and when the game plan is set for him to be successful, which it has not been in recent weeks.
No. So here's the thing I want to ask you, because this is the thing that I find myself in the last 2 weeks screaming at the TV is like, why do we why are Brian Johnson is thoroughly obsessed with the wide receiver screens. And also, why is Jalen Hurts, when he is dropping back, why is it incessantly in the pocket? Why are there not plays that are called that get him out in space on the move where there is an option for him to run if he gets out? But the more that he stands in the pocket, it seems like the worse it gets.
I truly don't know. I truly don't know. I mean, there's a lot to go with that. So starting with the idea of where we were so successful last season is we became a boring run-first team. And Adam says it right here. They don't run the ball at all, so that doesn't help the offense. We became a boring run-first team, and by doing that, we forced 7 guys into the box, and then Jalen Hurts had the easier reads, or he had the space on the scramble. They take that away by not running the ball. I mean, you've got a guy who, when he carries the ball, DeAndre Swift is a phenomenal running back in this league. We got to stop forcing the ball to Gainwell. We got to stop forcing the ball to Boston Scott. Just let DeAndre Swift be the guy.
I mean, you're not calling that many fucking running plays either.
They're not.
So, like,
you're not. And against the 49ers, Jalen Hurts already had 30 passes in the first half.
Jesus Christ.
Half. We are not a drop back and pass team. That is not Jalen Hurts' game. And when Nick Sirianni started, he said he was going to put the players in the best position to succeed with what they do best. It wasn't going to be a system. It was going to be a system predicated around what the players do best. What Brian Johnson has schemed up is not helping Jalen Hurts be his best Jalen Hurts self. And we have the knee injury. So maybe he's not scrambling as much because he's hurt. So the fact of the matter is that this is not the Eagles offense. And the team has yet to play a full game. The team has yet to play a full game. And it's week 15.
And you somehow managed to throw 10 wins together. Like, I don't see how you don't utilize your best offensive weapon, which is your offensive line. Like, that offensive line is the best collection of players in football, 1 through 5.
Yes,
but you're not utilizing them. You're putting them in a position to incessantly be on their heels and not be on the attack. And you saw in moments in that Dallas game where when they ran the ball a couple times in a row that they were able to establish that dominance. They're getting these larger chunk plays, but like, you can't tell me that you're looking at the best option is to let him drop back where he's obviously uncomfortable.
And I think that the other thing that you have to realize is what worries me about Brian Johnson, the play caller, is he almost wants to, and this kind of answers Adam's question here.
Right.
He almost wants to have every play be a success at, 5, 6, 7 yards. As an offensive play caller, that would make me look like a genius and I'd be head coaching somewhere.
Sure.
But just because you run the ball and you gain 1 or 2 yards or even a no gain, it doesn't mean that the play was a failure.
No, because
it means that you ran the ball, you got 1 or 2 yards, and you reminded the defense that you run the ball because the next one might be a break. And DeAndre Swift, we know, has elite speed. We know Jalen Hurts has elite speed and hard running ability. You're allowed to run the ball and only gain 1 or 2 yards at a clip. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, kind of answering Adam's questions here, what do we need to do to turn the ship around the right direction? Number 1, we have to commit to the run game. Number 2, we have to get healthy. Number 3, we got to let Jalen be Jalen. Jalen is not Peyton Manning. Stop having him do 7-step drops and just sit in the pocket. Especially when you're going against these elite defenders, right? You're going against a Bosa. You're going against a Micah Parsons. You're going against a DeMarcus Lawrence. You're going against a Frank Clark. You're going against guys that are going to get to the quarterback. Now, this week, I'm not as worried. The Seahawks defense isn't as destructive.
No, not at all.
But again, you still have to fix the game plan. You have got to play a full 60-minute game at some point. And it can't just be against the Giants coming up. It can't just be against the Cardinals coming up. I think if you're going to put together one good week to actually get people to go, okay, that's the Eagles team, it's got to be this weekend.
Yeah, I think you may have seen a little bit of sense of urgency coming out of NovaCare, right? They normally today is normally a walkthrough day. They put the pads on. I think the leadership, the player leadership in that locker room said that something's got to change. Something's got to change we're looking at being at not even hosting a home. Like, they went from the 1 seed 3 weeks ago to now being the 5 seed, and potentially not hosting a playoff game at all. So I think you have to establish the run. You cannot operate from just going to drop. You're not good enough right now to just drop back and throw the ball 55 times. And it's a
That's
way
not.
that
It's the same thing. It's the same thing that bothered me with Carson Wentz. It's the same thing that bothered me with McNabb. We are not a team, and really no team. I don't think that any team, unless you're running, 85, 90 plays in a game, should be passing that much. I think that you see Justin Herbert's numbers are up through the roof. You see, Roethlisberger used to throw the ball 60 times and had, both of his shoulders basically amputated off of his body. I just think that you've got to have, at the minimum, a 60-40 balance.
I think
balance. You have to.
And you can still use the passing game to get those chunk plays, but you establish the run so that there's the threat that brings those guys down in the box and makes the pace and space of that route that you're running down, either down the seam or towards the sideline.
The routes they're running are also boring as hell.
Oh, they're boring as fuck, man. There is no spice in that. The spiciest play call all year long was the fake punt that they just ran.
And it was beautiful.
And it was run beautifully, but there's no.
That was the best pass play they called.
It seems like they're running the most fucking vanilla of vanilla offenses.
And the only time that they look excited is when they're running a go route and they have a chance of going up and getting a big play.
Right? You've seen I saw a couple of the plays where you see the wide receiver in motion that gets the immediate handoff and just run right off the tackle. Plays like that. I'm not asking you to run flea flickers and crazy fucking
how about a double move?
But
how about a double move? How about a double move? Something that
You're right.
that your basic high school cornerback can't cover. Because that's where I feel like we are. And when you've got elite guys like AJ Brown, when you've got elite guys like Devontae Smith, put them to work.
You're almost relying on the fact that that you have top level elite talent. We don't got to do anything crazy because these guys are really, really good. When in reality, if you have them be technically elite, that makes them even better. You saw that stretch from AJ Brown early on in the year where he put up 125,
5 or 6 straight games. Yeah.
6 straight games.
At that time, he was in the lead, in my opinion, for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. But you're almost too reliant on that hyper athletic talent
and much like the Chip Kelly of it all, teams adapt. And if you are unwilling to adapt alongside and keep things fresh, you become incapable of moving the ball. We saw it with Chip Kelly when teams changed and he's like, I'm not changing anything. I think you're starting to see it a little bit with Brian Johnson. Now, I am not in the mindset of, we got to fire Brian Johnson. We got to fire Sean Desai. No, we don't. We're 10-3. Stop it. But I do think an honest conversation needs to be had of, okay, clearly the last couple of weeks, and it's not just, in the losses. You put up 37 on the Bills, but you also had to come back from 17 down. You put up, 21 against the Chiefs, but you came back from significantly down.
Chip, they've spent, I think, the last 4 or 5 weeks being down. They're down at halftime, but down by double digits at halftime.
And when you go against really good football teams, you cannot allow them to take the lead, because what they're going to do, what the Cowboys did, what the 49ers did, is they're going to keep piling on.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the 49ers in the 49ers game, they score 6 consecutive touchdowns on 6 consecutive possessions.
Yeah.
And the only possession they didn't score was the kneel down at the end. And then the Cowboys score on their first, they're not touchdowns, but they score on their first 3 drives, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. You had 9 consecutive drives where you give up points.
And you can't.
And 8 of the 9 are touchdowns. Like, you're not going to win games, right? And then the one play, the backbreaker right before halftime, right? Because you get the field goal with 1:48 left in the second quarter. And at that point, it becomes 17-6, and you're going to get the ball back at halftime, right? So you could have made that game a 1-score game coming out of the half.
Yeah,
and then you give up and then you give up a touchdown, and then you're down going into halftime 24-6, and you might as well have turn the lights off, because it just I don't understand. And Adam, working on tackling,
and this
is
huge.
This is a huge thing, because they almost, like, the word I keep finding myself saying is, like, they look disinterested.
It's not even disinterested. They are so technically wrong at this point. I haven't seen this much head down tackling in years. I'm watching Reed Blankenship launch himself when he's trying to tackle, and he's not good enough to do it. Reed Blankenship has been very good, but he's not good enough to not look at what he's hitting.
Right.
And you're seeing the same thing with Bradbury. You're seeing the same thing with Slay. You're seeing the same thing with our linebackers. We just the Christian Ellis thing really bugged the hell out of me. Like, Christian Ellis had a good game, and you tried to get clever with him, and you don't see how he screw up the roster too often anymore. But they release Christian Ellis, and they leave everybody else that they had on the roster, hoping that Christian Ellis was going to sneak through. And the Patriots went, no, he's ours now. Thank you so much. And you're watching guys like, TJ Edwards, he's having success. You're looking at guys like from Miami, like Duke Riley, who's having success. We do not invest in linebackers. And I'm so glad that they got Shaq Leonard, but does Shaq Leonard have anything left? Zach Cunningham is our leading tackler. Is he going to be re-signed? No, he's going to sign a bigger deal somewhere else, just like Kaiser White did this year.
Yep.
They signed Kaiser White for a 1-year prove-it deal. He proved it and went somewhere else. We have got to start investing in linebackers, because it is integral to this defense that they are able to tackle.
Yeah. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I got a guy for you.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Oh, my God. That dude.
The Axe Mini instead of the Axe Man, the Axe Mini.
Joe was calling him the Hatchet.
The Switchblade.
Yeah, you
the chainsaw.
A buzzkill. You're going at some point you're going to need, like, I know you cannot invest the capital that you want in every position, but you have to invest more than going year to year with whatever guy you're pulling off the scrap heap. And I think what ended up happening is that they put all their eggs into Kobe Dean's basket, and
we don't know
for whatever reason this year.
Nolan Smith, a first-round pick. Again, I'm not saying that he's the savior of anything, but he's been non-existent.
Yeah, he's getting 10-ish snaps.
Probably more now with all the injuries, but again, what's he doing?
Since they released Derek Barnett, right? He's definitely getting more. But the problem is that the production that they get when Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are on the field, it drops off so much that you almost can't afford to not have them on the field. But you also have to get the guy game experience, because he's a first-round pick, and you need production. You can't have that first-round pick investment and not be getting production out of him.
Yeah, I don't know which one's the bigger. To me, the bigger problem right now is the offense. We just cannot score because the play calling is not working.
No,
and the defense at this point is exhausted.
Yeah, and you look at how they won games early on in the season. They just outscored people. They just went and they scored more points than people. And now when you need them to pick that up because the defense is not carrying, because they're coming off games where they're playing 70, 80, in the Bills' case, 92 plays. They play that Bills game right in the middle of that 3 games in 13 days.
Uh-huh.
And you're completely exhausted because you've got to turn around and play 6 days later after
And it
playing
goes into
92
overtime.
snaps.
Thank you.
And then now when you look like they could not have had what made this gauntlet a little bit tougher, right? Something you spoke about earlier, which is like you played the 49ers. When you played the 49ers, they had not played a game since Thanksgiving, right? So they had essentially like 10, 12, 13 days between their game.
They've had 13 days to prepare for our game.
And
it looked like it.
The Cowboys also came off that same scenario. They didn't play a game since the previous Thursday. So they were also coming off 10 days. It really set itself up. You've got the Eagles playing 4 games in 20 days, and you've got both teams that they're playing in these vitally important games coming off, 10 plus days where they're rested and ready. Now listen, they got to go out and play the games. Like that's not an excuse.
Yeah, you got a first round schedule this year, or first place schedule this year because again, you were first place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah, but they I don't know. I need to see a lot more. Yeah, Adam, you're right. Putting Smith and Brown in motion, putting somebody in motion, get
Move
guys
people
moving
around, have them run double routes, do creative crap.
Yeah, and I think Chip, the thing that when my wife can tell and be like, what are they doing?
Right.
When she notices, you better believe the other fucking team notices because love her to death, and she's getting a lot better at paying attention and knowing what's going on, but she could also care less at the same time. So like that's always my barometer. Like when I'm looking at that and I'm going, and she's going, ew, they look terrible. What are they doing? And I'm going, yeah, you're not wrong. Like when
our wives hung out the other night, by the way, my wife was like, I love Lacey. I'm like, yeah.
Oh.
So at some point we're gonna have a hangout with all of us.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. We'll absolutely get the teams together. We'll get both teams together.
We'll run some motion.
I love it.
I love it. It's so frustrating right now. I just, and again, we're sitting here, just 2 guys, not a lick of NFL coaching experience between us. I mean, I coached enough middle school football to know some things, but you've got to make adjustments. You got to read the defense. You got to do something different. And I do believe that the bigger problem right now is the offense. It just is.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Before we'll take a commercial break in a minute, and then we'll talk the Seahawks game on the back end. But the thing that also bothers me is like you now, because of these 2 losses and the way that you lost these 2 weeks, you've now made the next 4 games must wins, right? So now you're going into the last 4 games. You're going to play at Seattle on Monday, and then you play the Giants, Cardinals, and Giants. If you had played your cards right, that one of those last 2 games could potentially be a game where you get guys rest. Now,
right?
In order to be able to win the division, you got to win out.
Right, and instead now we got to worry about Mr. Gabagool from the Giants and his hitmen, coming after Jalen Hurts' knees.
Oh God. Oh, God. It's that's the thing that bothers me, right? And the only hope, right, is that you maybe continue to watch the Cowboys and maybe they
have their December collapse.
Right. And they listen, sometimes, most of the times the Cowboys be cowboying.
Dallas does be doing Dallas things.
So
Dallas.
Oh my God. But like they do have a rough stretch. They're going to play those 3 games and they're going to play, they play Buffalo, Miami, and then Detroit. They're going to,
Detroit's in the need for a huge win.
Yeah. And they're also playing for playoff position, right? They want to be able
playoffs.
And they want to, they're also playing for themselves to be in position to maybe host a playoff game. Like
no. Buffalo is playing to make the playoffs.
Oh, Buffalo. I was talking about Detroit.
Oh, yeah, Detroit at this point, yeah.
Right, so they're going to play 3 games in a row of game. Right now Miami's sitting at the top of the AFC. Yeah, they're that's going to be a tough stretch for them. So unless they slip up and the Eagles keep winning, those games are going to be meaningful all the way until the end, and you're going to have to win them,
which gets exhausting, and they've got to do something about it.
Yep. Well, listen. Take a little commercial break. On the back end, we'll talk Eagles and Seahawks as they go out west to play on Monday night. The first game they get the first Monday night flex.
Oh.
I honestly
can't watch any more primetime football.
Real talk. I really wish it was on Sunday afternoon.
Give me a 1 o'clocker, please.
That has been like the murderer's row of this year.
I thought last year was bad when we were going through championship months and losing every one of them. But
yeah, the 3 championship losses in 90 something days. That was whatever. At least we didn't have to watch some of these quarterback matchups. I know I said we're going to a commercial break, but I just keep talking. So some of the QB matchups last week were so bad. You ready for these?
Oh, God.
Bailey Zappi and Mitch Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Beathard and Joe Flacco.
CJ Beathard. I think his name is pronounced Beathard.
Gardner Minshew and Jake Browning.
Speaking of beating hard. Sorry.
Baker Mayfield and Desmond Ridder. Josh Dobbs and Aiden O'Connell.
How about the fact that Josh Dobbs just got no longer the starter, not the backup, he's the emergency quarterback. That's how bad. Oh no, we suck again.
Oh no, we suck again. And then Bryce Young and Jameis Winston. Talk about just the vomit emoji of is this really where we are in terms of quarterback play? Good Lord. All right. Listen, on the back end, Eagles Seahawks. See you in a minute.
Okay.
Von C. Brewing Company is a 20-barrel, 16,000 square foot microbrewery with a 2,500 square foot tasting room, including a spacious outside beer gardens in Norristown, PA, in the heart of Montgomery County. The Von C. family is part of the family that started C. Schmidt and Son Brewing in 1860. Stop in Wednesday through Sunday and taste a variety of draft and 16-ounce cans of originally brewed beer and tell them the Drunk on Broad crew sent you. Von C. Brewing is located at 1210 Stenbridge Street, Suite 300 in Norristown. Cheers.
Team Clicks are the only glasses for real sports fans. With interchangeable arms, you can support all of your favorite teams, or even make and create custom options as well. These die-hard sports fans have realized that sports fans needed something other than face paint to show their love and passion for their teams. Go to teamclicks.com/DOB and show your love for your hometown team.
La Torrens' curated collection of men's and women's watches is a perfect investment that lasts for years to come and fits perfectly with your every outfit and style. Our range of classic watches aren't just a great perfect formal and casual accessory, but a time machine that takes you back to memories. Explore our collection of timeless watches that can reflect your taste, personality, and personal style. Our exclusive collection of carefully curated, affordable luxury watches is what you need to make a personalized style statement. You can take pride in your prized possession, handing it over to the next generations as your most loved asset that they can also own and display with the same pride. These high-quality pieces stand the test of time, giving exceptional value and return on your investment. Go to la-tourain.com and use code DOB at checkout and get 10% off. If you're looking for unique sports apparel, check out Streaker Sports.
They've dug deep into the archives and have brought back some incredible defunct team logos and have even created entire defunct league collections. They also have collections paying homage to sports culture, including the Miracle on Ice, Slap Shot, Caddyshack, the Mighty Ducks, and even have a license with Wiffle Ball and USA Hockey. Only for Drunk on Broad listeners, use code BROAD at checkout to get 10% off anything at streakersports.com. Again, that's 10% off anything at streakersports.com with discount code BROAD.
All right, we're back.
Hello.
Eagles Seahawks Monday night. Again, really wish it was a not Monday night because the primetime games are killing the sleep schedule, but we do what we do.
I just work here.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, it's more like volunteering at this point because
let's put it this way. There haven't been a lot of post-game shows on the All About the Birds network. Why? Because the games end on tomorrow. Do you know what time it is? It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Listen, so Chip, going into the Seahawks game, what is the key matchup for you in terms of the Eagles being able to right the ship and really start to get back to their winning ways?
Well, Donald, I'm so glad you asked. It's a couple facets. Facet number one is the Eagles offense versus Brian Johnson's play calling. That's going to be facet number one.
Oh, God.
Along with that comes the turnover battle. And do you continue to turn the ball over your damn self? Because enough is a freaking enough. It is so very horrific. They don't stop turning the ball over. Like, they move the ball decently well, but they turn the ball over 3 times. And it was our key integral guys. So Brian Johnson versus the offense in play calling, and do they turn the ball over? The second concern is, and again, I know that, Geno is questionable. I don't think that Geno Smith is a very good quarterback, whatever. Once again, I think that he benefits from having some really good weapons all around him. But those weapons are absurd. DK Metcalf is
fucking animal.
He is a brick shit house. Tyler Lockett is one of the best receivers in the league, and he gets overshadowed because of how good DK Metcalf is. Jackson Smith and Gibba, however you say his name, is becoming such a great number 3 wide receiver. Yeah. He's going to go absolutely bananas. And Noah Fant, again, a tight end, right? A tight end who we struggle with tight ends. Why? Because we don't have linebackers. So between those 4 guys, even Geno Smith can pick it apart. And that's where he has been successful.
If anything, the Seahawks keep it simple, right? They give the ball to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet,
who faces injury issues. I know because I've had him on fantasy enough to know that he faces injury issues. My 8th place fantasy team. Way to go.
There you go. Didn't make the playoffs. Didn't make the toilet bowl.
I'm just
there,
guys. Yeah, I mean, my concern, it's not their offensive line is, their offensive line includes Jason Peters. Okay.
Yeah.
Jason Peters. The fact that dude is still alive, let alone playing football. Yeah. I mean, he's ancient in football years.
Credit to him for still getting the paycheck. Good Lord.
I think we got to get to Geno Smith and we got to get to him quickly because otherwise the problem is going to be we are going to get picked apart.
Yeah. You look at how they run, they keep this completely simple. You run the ball and then you run play action and you get the ball in the hands of your guys. And all those guys that you just talked about are all sure-handed receivers. They're not guys that are dropping a ton of passes, which is why Geno Smith has almost reinvented himself in Seattle. He's still listed as questionable. Probably
he's going to play because we saw what happens when Drew Lock plays.
Yeah. Wow.
Yikes.
The drop off You didn't think that there was going to be a drop off from Geno Smith, and then you saw Drew Lock.
But again, you're talking about a Geno Smith who is not mobile. He's got a hurt groin, and we got to get to him.
Yeah, you got to put pressure. You got to generate pressure. You got to do it. I think this is a game where you got to blitz, where you got to get him off his spot. You got an offensive line that's very vulnerable. And on the offensive end, Chip, you got to run the ball. Like, you just got to run the ball. Like,
yeah,
I'm looking at a stat. They're 30-6 when they run the ball more than 23 times. 23. Like, we're not talking about like this enormous number of runs. When they don't run the ball under Nick Sirianni, 23 times, they are 3-8.
And let me be very, very clear. When we say run the ball, we are not saying have Jalen Hurts throw the ball 30 times and carry an additional 20. It is use the running backs. If anything, this is a great week, an absolutely great week to include a guy that we got from Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. This is a great week for Rashad Penny.
You know, he has been a non-factor, and I don't truly know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like, I don't know if it's a numbers issue. I'm not sure if there's something that they like from Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell in the return game that they feel like they're not getting. But then again, I look at the return game. The return game is fucking non-existent because everybody's kicking the ball out of the fucking end zone. And when was the last time that you saw them actually return a kick? For all intents and purposes, you really don't even need a guy back there at this point.
Nope.
And Britton Covey is doing.
He's leading the league in punt return stuff.
as good of a job as a punt returner as you possibly can do. This is a game where you got to run the ball. 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 And then when you've run the ball, you got to run the ball some more. And then everything comes off the run game. You run from the run game, from those RPRs or the RPOs, like you fake the handoff and you get Jalen Hurts out in space and you get those little dump off routes at Dallas Goedert in the flat. You get AJ Brown dragging across the middle, and then you sneak Devontae Smith down the sideline and you hit him up over top. Like these are not complicated play designs.
No,
you have to mix it up.
And the thing that's crazy to me is it's not like in a lot of the situations Jalen Hurts doesn't have enough time. He does, but he is not a drop back and read quarterback. So stop it.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is. I'm not sure.
I told you it's Brian Johnson versus our offense.
Yeah, I mean, because again, you look at the talent that they have. On defense, what's the attacking style on defense that who's the guy that you're looking at to be most effective? Like, is this like I'm going to look at Shaquille Leonard and say like, all right, you've now had 10-ish days. How much production can you get? Because you're going to need somebody, long arm, long body to be able to get, not passes knocked down, to be able to cover Noah Fant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this point for those guys to just kind of do the job. I'm looking for Cunningham to do the job. I'm looking for Shaq Leonard to do the job. I'm looking for Nolan Smith to step up. I'm looking for our D-line to get to the quarterback and put hands on him. I think that's absolute necessity, because any quarterback with that kind of time in this league is going to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Oh, gosh. Well, Chip, before we jump out, do you have a prediction and a player of the game or a play?
So my player of the game is going to be Jalen Hurts. I think that he is just too much of a competitor to not go absolutely ham. It's his first 2-game losing streak in his career. And not just professional career. I mean, we're talking college, high school. I mean, he doesn't lose games. So, he's sitting there pissed off. And he played like crap. So Jalen Hurts, my player of the game. I do have the Eagles winning. I have them scoring, a little bit more because just looking at the stake of the defense, I think they're going to have figured that out a little bit. But I have it being a very close game because I don't know if our defense has the ability to stop all of those, 1A, 1B, and, B1 receivers. So I have the Eagles winning 27-24 in a game that is going to be very stressful on a Monday night.
Lots of Tums going around on that one. It's gonna. I kind of feel the same way. I feel like this is like a 28, 24, 27. Like this is by the end of this game, it'll be a 1-score game.
Yes,
and I think for me, like I like this as a get right game. I like this as a way, even though Seattle is normally not a place where they go and traditionally play really well. Ever. Especially on Monday night. Seattle's not a super easy place to play. I do think this is the leadership on this team, player wise, I think realizes the urgency of this game. I'm looking at this offensive line, and I'm looking at this offensive line because there's a lot of seated leadership on that offensive line. When you look at Jason Kelce, when you look at Lane Johnson, and you look at what they can provide, I think this for me, I'm gonna lean on this as long as I possibly can. I think this is a game that DeAndre Swift has to get, 15 to 20 touches.
It will never happen. It will not happen because in the chance that it does happen, they'll actually have to pay the man.
I'm going to speak it into existence because I feel like the way that you win this game is by running the ball and controlling the clock and keeping their offensive weapons off the field.
Yeah.
And then you got to end these drives and touchdowns. I think I got to settle on a score. I'm going to go 28-24. Birds.
Did you really just Price is Right me?
Did I?
I said 27-24. You said 28-24.
I didn't even remember. Yeah, but it's a 1-score game in the 20s. But this is a game that as much as I don't want to say it's going to be a sweat. It's going to be a sweat, and they're going to need to answer a lot of questions that people have in this game, and that people thought that these last 2 weeks were bad. If this game looks like a dumpster fire, it's going to get ugly.
It is going to get ugly because then all we have is because then all we have are those games that we should definitely win against really bad teams. Yep. And that's not the confidence you want. That's where the doubt starts to creep in of, okay, well, what are we?
Yeah. Yeah. So, listen, it is what it is. We'll figure it out on Monday night. Final thoughts, Chip. Final thoughts. What do you got on the way out?
I really miss 1:00 football games. I am 37 years old now. I like watching football games from my couch. And when it's dark outside, I fall asleep. And I don't like falling asleep during Eagles football games. I would also really appreciate if the Eagles stop playing like complete dog dookie, because then my wife yells at me to just turn it off. She can't watch anymore because she has the awkward secondhand embarrassment thing. And I go, no, I have to podcast about it. And that's a really shitty way to answer questions. So it'd be great if they just made it competitive again. That's all. Thanks for having me. I love you.
Oh, man. The feelings are mutual, brother. Like, so I'm looking at this. You're about to jump into the holiday season. I want people to be on the lookout for times where you can pay it forward. Like, don't make it super complicated, but like, if you have the opportunity to like buy coffee for someone behind you in line at Wawa, or pick up something for somebody because they might need it or it might make them might brighten their day. Like, look for those little opportunities. I was talking to my kids this afternoon. Like, it doesn't have to be anything super duper crazy. Like, just look for those opportunities to be a good person. And you know, a couple weeks ago we were at Target and we were standing in line, and we were at the one in Plymouth meeting where they have the Pizza Hut.
Ooh.
And they were getting ready to close. And he goes, "Oh, how many do you want?" And I was like, "Oh, I want 2." He sells the last one to the person behind me. And then a lady comes up and she's like, "Oh, can I get one?" And he's like, "Oh, we already sold out." I'm like, "Damn, she's like, that sucks." So, like, thankfully, they're standing in line. They're standing in like the self-checkout line. And I was just like, "Here, just have this." Just like, it's like, I don't need 2. I got 2 just because I thought like somebody else was going to eat it. And I was like, and it just like dawned on me, like right there, like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just look, because then that pay it forward hopefully inspires them to do something else. And, you never know how that's going to, trickle down and affect somebody else. So, like, just look for those times to be in the holiday spirit.
And speaking of that, my final question for you is best Christmas movie you've seen recently.
Ooh, recently.
It can be a classic. It could be a classic, but best Christmas movie you've seen recently.
I mean, listen, we've watched all the regulars. We've watched we watched Elf and Home Alone and National Lampoon's. I'm going to turn you on to something that we watched last night, and I have to finish it. Lacey finished it because I fell asleep in the middle of it, but it was really cool. It's I'm going to pull it up right now. It's called, hold on one second. I just want to make sure I get the title right. Feast of the Seven Fishes.
Okay.
Have you seen Righteous Gemstones?
No.
Yeah. You definitely got to watch that.
Okay.
But there's an actor from the Righteous Gemstones in it. But it's set in like the early 80s, Pittsburgh, Italian, very, very the heavy, Italian. Yep. But just a feel good, it's levels above a Hallmark movie, but not an instant classic. But it kept my attention long enough. At some point, it's 11 o'clock. I gotta go to sleep. So, but Feast of the Seven Fishes on Netflix is my new ish try it out holiday movie. You got one for me?
Oh, of course. I think it came out last year on Apple. Spirited with Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
And Will Ferrell makes me go pee-pee in my pants. It is so funny.
That was great. Did you also see 8-Bit Christmas?
I did not.
You need to watch that. Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, say less. Say less, fam.
And it's again set in the 80s, but it's wrapped around the 8-bit Nintendo. And the 8-bit Nintendo coming out and being like the be-all, end-all gift, and like the one kid in the neighborhood has it. You'll definitely enjoy it.
All right. I like it.
Did you watch what was the new one? The Eddie Murphy one, Candy Cane Lane? Did you watch that?
I have not. I'm more excited for Beverly Hills Cop, new Axel Foley movie coming out on Netflix.
Oh.
Got to watch so that's coming out. Watch the trailer. There's a new movie about the Civil War, not the Civil War, but a new Civil War coming out. Yeah, there's some things coming out.
Nice, I like that. You have a favorite go-to Christmas movie?
I do. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The old claymation Jimmy John.
I love that.
Is a weakness for me. I have to watch it every year.
Oh, I love that. Mine. So we're doing our activity movie day tomorrow. We're watching Fred Claus. Fred Claus is just it's a funny, goofy, feel good movie. I just love it. And
yeah, next week I'll be showing Jingle Jangle.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I love that one.
That's a good one. Nice. I love that. Well, listen, kids, if you haven't had enough Eagles talk right now, in about 25 minutes, you can go listen to Chip talk more Eagles.
I'll probably say a lot of the same things
with his friends over at the AAT Birds.
At the Birds. Apparently, by the way, we got roasted by 94.1 because
talk to me.
We are Ike Reese's personal hype machine. And
I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah, we're Ike Reese's personal hype machine, and apparently we posted a video about Hugh Douglas, and on the radio, Ike was like, "Oh, they're cutting on me" or something. I don't know. I have to actually find it and listen to it, but yeah, we're kind of a big deal. People know us.
Oh, I love that.
Listen, I'm a very important person.
Adam, I love. You must have been saying this when we were talking about the feel good stuff, right? Adam got the free ham and gave it to a friend that needs. Adam also said there's going to be a 30 for 30 coming out on Netflix on Reggie White. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, speaking of sports, also on Amazon Prime, there's the Bye Bye Barry. It's a Barry Sanders docuseries. Which is also supposed to be really good too. So lots of cool stuff. If you're bored, go find Chip on at the Birds.
At the Birds.
Listen, bye. I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, man. Good to see you
tomorrow.
In the squares. I'll see you tomorrow.
Later, Skater.
This is the Broad Street Line, where Philly sports fans leave all of their sports hot takes. Call 267-405-3062 and show us your passion for Philly sports. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 when we listen to your live reactions to the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat.
Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
B-A-T-L-E-S